Welcome to Kickin' Crochet. Today I'm going to teach you how to do a classic granny square. Granny squares can be really great. They're really portable. You can take a little bit of yarn with you anywhere and make a few squares, and then later you'll sew them together to make a blanket or a jacket or whatever you want to make. It also is a really good thing to learn because it gives you the basics for how you work in the round. So all of the projects we've done so far, you've worked across a row and then back and back and forth and back and forth. In this one, we're going to start in the middle and we're going to go around and expand. It also means that you can make a granny square as big as you want. You can just keep adding rows until it's whatever size you'd like. So we're going to start with this basic granny square. So again, I've got Caron Simply Soft yarn and a size H crochet hook. So there are a few different ways to start in a round. A really common way is a magic ring, but I'm not going to show you how to do that yet. I'm going to show you the traditional way, which is to make a short starting chain. So this is just a chain 3. I'm going to join this ring together to form a loop. So I'm just doing a slip stitch in that first chain that I made. So now I've got this tiny little loop, and I'm going to make a whole bunch of stitches in the same place. So I'm going to start by doing a chain 3, and that counts as a double crochet. And I'm going to make 2 more double crochets in that tiny loop I made. Now I'm going to chain 2. And I'm going to do 3 more double crochets in that same loop that I made. So I'm just making a whole bunch of stitches in this loop. And sometimes when you're working around, if you're not doing a granny square, you might not have these chain stitches in between. But for a classic granny square, you're going to do sets of 3 double crochet and a chain 2 in between. So there's 3 double crochet and now a chain 2, 3 double crochet, and a chain 2 until I have 4 groups of 3 double crochet. And then a chain 2. Now, because I'm working around in a circle, I need to join this together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to join this with a slip stitch. So here's the top of the double crochet, top of the double crochet. This stitch right here is the top of my chain 3, and that chain 3 counts as a double crochet. So that counts as my first stitch. So I'm going to slip stitch through that first stitch, maybe a little tight, and through there. Okay, so now I have 4 groups of 3 double crochet and 4 chain 2 spaces. The chain 2 spaces are going to be my corners of my granny square. Now for the next row, I'm going to chain 3, which is again going to count as my first double crochet. Now I'm going to do 2 more chains in this corner. So I'm not going to go in here in between these 2 double crochets. I'm actually going to go right here. So I'm going to yarn over and go through this corner and do a double crochet and then another one in that same place. And then I will chain 2. And then I will skip this whole cluster of double crochets, and I'm going to do 3 double crochets in this next group, or in this next chain 2 space. The space made by our chain 2, it's called a chain 2 space. But now I need to add more stitches because my circle has to get bigger, right? As I go out, I have to have more and more stitches to make it lay flat. Otherwise I would make this like box thing, okay? So I need to chain 2, and now I'm going to do 3 more double crochet in the same corner. Then a chain 2. It's always 3 double crochet and a chain 2, and so now this corner has a chain 2 in it still, but it has enough stitches that it'll lay flat. So I'm going to skip over these 3 double crochets and work in the next corner. Do 3 double crochet, a chain 2, and then 3 more double crochet in the same corner. Every time I come to a corner, even as I get bigger, I'm going to do 2 groups of 3 double crochets and chain 2. So now I'm coming back to this first corner where I started, and the corner I started on only has one group of double crochets, so I need to make another group in the same corner. So I'm gonna yarn over and do 3 double crochet. So I'll finish this round by doing a chain 2 and then joining to the top of my starting chain, maybe. Now I'm done with this pink color, and so I'm just going to tie it off. That was a terrible knot. That's okay. Okay, then I'm going to take my next color, which is this, I don't even know what to call this color. It's almost like a mauve violet mix. Anyway, do a slip knot. And now I'm just going to join to any one of these spaces. It really doesn't matter which one. I'm going to do this corner. And I will chain 3 for my first double crochet. And then I'll do 2 more double crochet in that space. So I've got a set of 3, then I'll chain 2, 3 double crochet in this space. So again, a granny square, a traditional one, it's going to be 3 granny squares in every space except the corners. And between each set of 3, you're going to do 2 double crochet or 2 chain. Each corner just has 2 sets of 3 double crochet, again with a chain 2 in between. So you'll do this all the way around the square. So the square I'm making had 2 rows of the pink, and then it'll have 2 rounds of this, and then it has 1 round of purple to make the whole square. And next week I will show you how to join squares together. Granny squares I think are really the easiest squares to join. So I'm going to show you on those first, but then I'll also show you some tips for joining squares that aren't granny squares that might not even have the same stitch counts. So stay tuned for that one next week. And I'll be honest, I don't actually love making crochet squares and joining them together, mostly because I really do not like weaving in ends, and there's a lot of end weaving in with granny squares, especially if you do a lot of color changes. But they are kind of fun to actually make, if you don't mind the joining together. And it's nice because then you can take just a little bit of yarn and work on it wherever you happen to be. You get in kind of a groove and get almost like Zen-like. Okay, so I finished this round. Now I'm going to join to the top of my chain 3. Because I'm using the same color on the next round, I'm not going to finish off. I'm just going to chain 3 for my first double crochet, and now I'm going to do 2 more in the same hole. Normally you would do them in the same actual stitch, but for this it's going to look much better if you do it through this hole. So 2 more there. And again, I'm just going to do this all the way around. 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet, chain 2, and in the corner 3 double crochet, chain 2, 3 double crochet. I'm done with this color, so I'm going to cut it and tie it off. And then I'll switch to my last color. I've got one more round for this square. For some reason, I always like to join it to a corner. You don't have to join it to a corner. It doesn't really matter. So I'll chain 3, and then I'm doing 2 more double crochet in the same corner. And then off I go. Chain 2. Three double crochet. Now I'm going to join this together, and I haven't been being super careful about joining. I've just been going through one loop, but if you know it's going to be on an outside edge and you want it to look nicer, you really should go through both loops. It's just really hard to get through both loops, so I don't usually do it. I'm just kind of lazy like that, if we're being honest. Okay, I'm going to cut that and tie it off. So that is a traditional basic granny square. And this pattern, I'm not a super fast crocheter, but it only took me maybe 15 minutes, probably a little less, to actually crochet it. And if I wanted to make it bigger, I would just join on and keep growing, always making 2 sets of 3 double crochet in the corners. And every set of double crochet is separated by a chain 2. So it's pretty simple. Once you've done it a couple times, it'll be like riding a bicycle, kind of, except, you know, crocheting. Anyway, don't forget to subscribe and stay tuned for the next videos where I'll show you how to join these beauties together, and happy crocheting!